Hey Cynthia,
Hi, Tangerine.
how
Hi.
you doing?
I'm okay. And you?
I'm good. So how was your journey all the way from Limbe to here?
Smooth.
Mm,
No problems, no car breakdowns. It was a nice journey.
okay. So we are very happy having you here for this program, knowing you came all the way from Limbe just for the program.
I am honored.
Okay. So before starting, you first tell our viewers and listeners who you are and what you do.
Okay. So, my name is Acha Cynthia, and I'm an electrical engineer by profession, and I'm the founder of Solar City Limbe.
Mm. So what background did you have before becoming an electrical engineer?
Oh, well, I did sciences
Mm,
in secondary school. So, mathematics, further mathematics,
mm-hmm.
chemistry, biology, physics. And then, because I was not too sure of which engineering background to go with, I decided to go into applied physics
Mm,
for my bachelor's degree. It was supposed to help me choose, go like touch all the different engineering backgrounds
mm-hmm.
and then help me to know better which one to specify in for my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So then after doing the 3 years program in applied physics and computer sciences, I then moved in to do electrical engineering and industrial computing for my master's degree.
Mm. So becoming an engineer was your aim, that was your passion. It's always been that.
Yes. I was not too sure which one. I just wanted to be an engineer. So,
Why? Why engineer? Just the name?
uh, honestly, maybe in my head it carried a lot of charisma when I was
Mm.
younger, and I I just wanted that attached to the beginning of my name when maybe when I die or when people are calling my name in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
And today, do you feel like accomplished?
Yes, I always have more goals,
Mm.
but when it concerns my childhood goals, yes, I do feel very fulfilled, gratefully though.
Mm. Mm. So, what does the job of an electrical engineer actually involve?
Well, an electrical engineer's job is actually very vast,
Mm.
very vast.
Mm-hmm.
Electrical energy is like the mother of all the different types. So there's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like solar energy, which is still under electrical engineering. There's
Mm-hmm.
still there's hydro.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just like all these other energy fields.
Mm-hmm.
Electrical engineering is like the mother of all of them. So it's really difficult to say what an electrical engineer does because it just depends on which area you're specialized in. Like how we know, like here in our own Energy of Cameroon company, they make their own electricity using hydro energy,
Yeah.
water.
Mm-hmm.
But they are more specified in transmitting, producing, and then transporting energy
Mm-hmm.
and distributing it to different people. So it's more like network energy on the network. So that's a whole lot. It's a whole lot different.
Mm-hmm.
So solar energy is producing energy, electricity, but from the sun. So it really just depends on which sector of electricity you're working on.
So, on which sector do you work and how does it go?
Oh, I'm working on the solar energy sector.
Mm.
It's going really well. A couple of years ago, it was all
I
I
mean, like, what
wanted to
does it
do.
involve, that sector? Like you said, uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it involves well designing people's systems. So for example, if somebody has need for maybe continuous energy,
Yeah.
maybe they also need to store some of the energy and they use it at a later time. So solar energy really does that for you. So we're able to come up with designing your system based on your property.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be business, it could be small business, it could be a home, no matter the size of the home. It could even be like a company and all of that. So we actually take our time to design, understand your needs, the capacity of your property, and then give you a solution. So some people, their aim could be to reduce their electricity bills.
Mm-hmm.
Other people's aim could just be continuous energy. They never want to be in blackouts, never ever. So they don't mind the costing. So it really just depends. So we make sure that we really understand where you're falling, what your need is, and then give you a solution that just best fits you.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the key steps of in designing an electrical system, for example? Like, I think electrical engineering is about planning,
Yeah.
designing, analyzing. When it comes to designing, what are the key steps?
Well, in my sector, just like in any other sector, you need to take the time to go and look at the situation. So for us, we go to the client's property. We take the time to look at them. We take data, like the GPS location at that time, though at this location where it is the exact location. We also get like the weather data from reliable sources. We also get all of that. And then we go back home with all that data, including how much capacity the client has. So we look at like, okay, does the client have like ACs? Do they have like how many fans, how many TVs, lighting, and all of that? Just everything that they need they need the solar energy to run. We take that data. We use appliances like the power meter. So we don't just rely on the ratings that's written on the appliances. Most of the times they could be higher, most of the times they could be lower. And then you can end up oversizing or undersizing the client, and then hence play with the cost. It also affect the costing. It could be slightly more than they could have paid for, and then it can end up being slightly lesser than you could actually provide for them. So site visits is like the first main thing that we do. So we take our time, actually get all that data, because that's really crucial. And then we go back to the office, and then we start designing with our softwares, and then when everything is done, we then send the client a proposal. So we usually do like 2 or 3 options. So depending on the client, but okay, but just know that whatever option you start with, you can always grow in the future. So if you start with like a small system now, you can always expand in the future. So that's part of the site visit also, because we take the time to discuss with the client, okay, whatever you're asking for now, is that all you will need in the future? Or whatever we're seeing in this building, is that all that's going to be in the next 2 years, next 3 years? So we take all that into consideration when we're doing your designing.
And that's when it comes to designing. So now if you talk about the analyzing part, if you're asked like to study the electrical system of a hospital, how would you go about it?
Okay, so we know that hospitals like they never just shut down, so they're on 24/7. So when you're trying to do a design for a hospital, you need to consider that they're always going to need energy like all the time. So the hospital's main goal is so that there should never be blackout. You cannot be doing an operation and then light goes out. A patient cannot be in the hospital and then light goes out. It's really weird, it's bad. So when you're doing the designing and analyzing a hospital, so that's one of the first things you consider. So they can never be in a blackout. And so, okay, do they already have grid energy? Grid is like do they already have grid energy in the hospital? So if they already have, how often does their grid energy go out? So on an average, do they lose energy like light for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? So you know that, okay, either you're giving them solar energy system that will give them autonomy for like 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours, depending on how much to close the gap. Or you can like, okay, maybe the hospital is okay, it's well enough to do. They make sure that they have both solar energy full time and just grid to full time, just whatever one is available, they work with it. So those are one of the things I really consider when we're doing the analysis to design a place like the hospital. And then we also take the time out to make sure that they have enough roof space, because the hospital generally needs they actually have like machines, or they have a lot of lighting, and all these appliances require a lot of energy, more than a normal home will. So we need to make sure that, okay, all the panels you want to give them, do they have the space on the roof? If they don't have it on the roof, do they have like a land around so the panels can grab enough energy that they need? They also have enough space to put the indoor systems like the battery banks, the inverters and all that. Do they have space to do that? A safe space away from people moving in and out, away from children going around to touch, things like that. Do they have that? So the kind of things are really analyzed when we want to do things for the hospital.
And I think, for your opinion, it's better for a hospital which uses hydraulic electric system to have solar system as a how do you call
Backup.
it? Backup, as a backup system.
Yes.
For him not to go out of electrical energy.
Yes, of course, 100%. It is really bad. We've had situations in this country where people are in the middle of surgery, and then the lights go out, and then there's no power. It has happened. People in the middle of delivery, so that's happened a lot. So For a home, you can even consider, okay, they can start with a small system battery bank for now and then grow in the future. But a hospital is not like that. It's supposed to be like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Make sure that whatever you're giving them is really, really what they're going to be using for like the next 5 years, 10 years, and things like that.
Yeah. When we hear you speaking, it's like you've got a lot of experience. Although you're very young, you really master what you're talking about. So I guess you can tell us, what are the qualities of a good electrical engineer?
Oh, yes. With my experience and all of that, and all that I've learned and all of that I've gathered, a good electrical engineer should, first of all, really like your job. Electrical engineering could really be daunting. The task could be difficult sometimes, but if you don't like it, it's difficult for you to carry on. Sometimes things can really go south. You can do your systems, your design, and then the appliances or electronics just mess up.
Yeah.
You should really like fixing things. You should really like arranging things. You should really like finding what's the next best thing to do. This is a situation that's not gone out the way I've planned. How can I do it? How can I fix it? And secondly, an electrical engineer should really like good work. So whatever system you're designing, whatever cabling you're doing, you should really like looking at it, and it looks good. It's easy for another technician to just look at it and understand the trend of your cabling and how the current is supposed to go through. A good electrical engineer should also really like calculations, because honestly, if you don't like calculations, you really cannot be an engineer at all. You surely just be like a technician, people that just do things because they're used to doing things, they're accustomed to do things like that. But electrical engineering, if you like calculations, you always look for the better solution. Whatever solution you're doing now, in the next 5 years, you should be able to do it better. So those are really, really important things. So even as you're growing up, you should like physics and math. And those are the criteria that you know that, okay, if your child likes physics and math, okay, it's most likely that they'll be good at engineering, because that's like the core foundation of all of that. Because just like in solar systems, no two systems are the same. No two clients' needs are the same. So there's always differences. So you always need to calculate. So if you're ever tired of doing calculations, or you feel lazy about doing it, you're going to run into a lot of problems, and you're not going to make a very good engineer.
So having a background in mathematics like you is recommended?
Yes, highly recommended.
Yeah. So what are the difficulties you face working as an electrical engineer?
Well, I think that for us in this country, there's a lack of sensitization. So it's really difficult. You actually spend a lot of time trying to explain to the client the solution that you're providing to them. That takes a lot of time and energy and effort. So if you really don't like what you're doing, if you really don't enjoy helping people, helping them understand the solution that you're bringing to them, it's going to be very difficult. Apart from that, we also have finance challenges, because most of the times you would like to provide a solution to a client, and even when you try to make it as affordable as possible, it's still very difficult for them, and you just feel terrible. So we also have that problem here. We also have the problem when you're working with teams. There's also lack of skills with most people in solar energy, to be specific. So it's really difficult for you to just hand a task to somebody and confidently believe that they'll do it. So you always have to be checking each member of your team, making sure that they're doing things as expected, because it's lack of skill, and you're still growing in your team, you're growing their knowledge and all of that. Because solar energy is quite new in this country. So very few people have taken the time to really, really study and want to know and want to grow and provide accurate and proper solutions. So they're not taking the time. So there's that problem.
So since last year you own your own company, you offer services related to solar system energy.
Yeah.
And you're only 25. You did that last year at that age, and I think it's very scarce to see people of your age opening a company that does something that serious. So we're curious to know, like, how did you get there at that age?
Well, I'm turning 25 next month. Let's start there.
So you did that at 24?
Yes.
Yeah. That's even better.
Well, honestly, it's really been tough years, honestly. It's really not been a piece of cake. People who are close to me would know that it's really been a struggling years for me. I've really wanted huge things. I've really wanted to do things that will impact people around me. And it's never been one of the easiest tasks. And so I faced a lot of difficulties and challenges, but I've had very huge support systems too, my family and friends. So, so last year, what actually caused me to start it was when I was graduating my master's degree the last year, we had to come up with like a thesis. And then my original thesis had nothing to do with solar energy. It was actually trying to find faults on electrical lines. So like, okay, how better to find faults? Because normally when an electrical line, there's a fault on an electrical line, the technicians take like forever to find the fault, which spot, and before they even start tracing what kind of fault it is. So I was working on that to come up with a solution and then defend that for my master's degree. So then I applied for internship at the Energy of Cameroon, and because of the corona crisis at the time, they weren't recruiting anybody. They're actually even letting people off. So my mom actually introduced me to a man who came to provide us with a small backup system in our home. And I was like, okay. She was like, you can work with him while waiting. And I was working with him, still working with him. We went around Limbe installing solar solutions to people. And then that's when it hit me. Okay, he was mostly installing systems where the clients will have to manually switch between a NEO or solar energy, like manually. And obviously, because it's manually, it's mechanical, it's easy to spark fire and all that. And it's also not very good for homes with small children. And then so I was like, okay. So I started working on my thesis system. I changed it. I was like, okay, I'm going to start working on an automatic system where it can switch between either of the two sources and also inform the user that, okay, wherever you are, like on your phone, SMS text, and tell you, okay, you're now on solar energy. You've consumed this amount of energy.
And that's the digital part of your service.
Yes. You've consumed this amount of energy so far, and you're now, and things like that, and just to help you keep track of things like that. So so I think when working on that project, it was I've never worked on a project that intense in 3 months, really to sleep. I remember my room, I was living with my sister at the time. The room was cables everywhere, building things and testing, programming with C++. It was crazy. But then thankfully, to my background in computer science, I was able to program the system. So I was working and simulating the prototype and then building it physically. It took some time, but we finally came up with it. So after that, I was like, okay. So I realized solar energy is really something I want to get into. And then I got the job after I graduated, like a few months later, like 2 or 3 months later. I got a job in a company who was dealing with solar energy too, in a way. And working with them for 3 months, it wasn't going the way I expected. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way the company was doing, the policies and all of that. And so I applied for another job somewhere else.
At which moment did you really realize that you had to open your own company?
Yes, when I actually applied for this other job later, it didn't go well. So I applied for this job, went for the interview sessions. They were looking for engineers to work on some cancer machines. And after going through the whole process and getting the job, they now call me later and tell me that the board thinks it's risky to invest in a female. So okay, wow. So
you faced gender discrimination.
Yeah, so that was weird. So I got this idea. My former colleague at the time, he was like, okay, why don't you start your own company in Limbe? And things. I was like, yeah. I mean, there was none in Limbe at the time. I was like, so why not? So that's actually what pushed me to start. Where I also thought of, I actually have a lot of friends who did electrical engineering just like me, and they weren't really having jobs and things like that. So, and they're very smart girls. So I was like, okay, so I know that there are many girls like me out there. So if I could start something and then tomorrow have those girls come in and other smarter girls, obviously, it would be great. That would be very fulfilling for me. So yeah.
So I guess your services are like presented in segments. Can you present it to our viewers?
Yeah. So SolarCity does in sales of solar related equipment. So you have like, we can sell things separately, we can sell all the parts separately, we can sell your panels separately, batteries separately, your inverters separately. We also do now in installing. So we can do your whole design system, go to your house, install it for you, have it work. We can do that too. And then lastly, we can also maintain the system. So it could be a system that we installed, it could be another one that we didn't install. Maybe you had some other technician do it for you and it's breaking down. We can come in, save the day. We can do that for you too. And so basically those are the three main segments that we work on.
Yeah, I think you're the only company offering that kind of service, solar system services in Limbe, in the whole Southwest. So does your target understand the services you offer?
Well, yes, they do. I mean, they do now.
Yeah.
At the beginning, no, they did not. At the beginning, I think we spent like 6 months sensitizing people. 6 months. So people would, every time they would see the signboard, they would come in and they were like, okay, we've heard about solar energy, but what does it really do? How can it really help me? And things like that. So many people may have heard about it. They don't know, okay, yes, it's a good solution from the grid failure, but they really don't know how to go about it. So we spend a lot of months sensitizing, happily, but daunting. Yeah.
So if you have to convince an individual or company to switch from hydraulic electrical system to solar system, electricity. So how will you go about? Is it easy? Has it been easy for you to convince them since you started?
Yeah, so far.
When they get the importance of having that. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you go about convincing them?
Okay, so first of all, there's been everybody, most people know that, okay, solar energy is good, it's stable, it's a good backup system from grid energy, but they really don't understand. So because with solar energy, the initial costing can be difficult. It can be huge for some people, and this is relative, by the way. And so for every sphere of people on the ladder, there's like, it's still difficult. So even though they know that it's good, they don't just know how good it is. So you have to take your time to show them, especially in numbers. So if you invest this much in this amount of time, you've recovered your money, and then after this amount of time, you're not using energy free. You've recovered your money and then you're using energy free. It's a whole lot cheaper than grid energy, because grid energy you're paying overtime, but you're paying overtime forever.
Yeah.
But with solar energy, okay, it's some investment now, but then if you look at it in numbers, how much money you're saving that you would have been giving to your grid energy, and how much money you're saving from maybe the stress and all of that. Like 2, 3 years or 4 years if you covered your money, and then solar systems normally last for like 10 years, 15 years. The panels are like 20 years. So after all that time, with all that remaining time, using energy free of charge. So it's just a scary part. So to break that, you just show them in numbers. You take your time, do all the calculations.
So for somebody to have the material it takes, the installation, it has a price, the maintenance, how will you evaluate the cost? Like, if you can give an estimate.
Oh yeah. So usually when we have to do the system, when we have done the designing and all of that ourselves, we just charge you between 20 to 30% of the cost of all of your materials.
Yeah.
So if all that you're using, from your panels to your batteries to the little things, the cabling, blah blah, and all of that, and then we just charge you 20 to 30%. It really just depends on the customer.
Yeah.
For customers whose systems cost a lot, we can take it right down to like 20% cost of installation. So it's actually just varies.
Mm-hmm. So it's affordable for everybody.
Yes, it's mainly to be affordable for everybody.
Does working on a solar-powered electrical system require any special skills, or everybody can do that?
Oh no, it really requires skills.
Not every electrical engineer can do that.
No,
okay.
no. Not everybody can do it. As an electrical engineer, normally you have a good basis to quickly learn the skills that is required to do solar energy.
How long, for example, does it take for you to learn those skills?
Honestly, for me, I think it should be like 1.5 years.
Okay.
1.5 years. or even lesser, like 1 year, if you're continuously practicing. But because with solar energy, you have like raw calculations that the softwares can do it for you. So you really need to take your time to know how to do all of them. Take into consideration rainy days. Take into consideration the efficiency of your equipment. Take into consideration so many things. So it's not really easy for many people. It's not obvious. So many people say, okay, you need solar energy, you just put your panels and things like that. No. Even the angle of putting your panels is very important, because there's some angles that will make you receive more energy in a year than other angles. So all those things are really, really important. So it's not just anybody. You need to really know.
So tell us about the solar energy project that has made the most impact on you so far.
Okay, well, I remember a solar energy project that I did. This is before Solar City. It was just me and me learning at the time, because I actually took like a year or two to learn before starting my company. So I was actually working with this man. So we're moving around, working and learning. So it really gave me time. So there was this time we had to work on this project for one of the tallest buildings in Limbe in Southwest at the time. And the system was huge. It was supposed to carry, this is big. The company, that building had like, I think 6 floors or 7, I'm not too sure anymore. But it was really one of the tallest. And we had to install like 88 panels. It was an 80 kilowatt system in general. And that project took 3 months. 3 months, it was a very long project. And there were a lot of things that I learned along the way. And even the calculations that we did at the beginning, there had to be changes and things like that. So it was a really, really long project. But it was really impactful to me, because my team of today is made up of the people I met there. So the longevity of which we used to work together really helped me to understand. So we took our time to really understand how to work together. And so today they are my team, and I just couldn't have started with a better set of people.
Okay, so let's finish with this little game you're going to play with me. It consists of you giving me the use of the tools you use in the field of your work. Okay, so first of all, Homer Pro.
Homer Pro. So Homer Pro is a software. So the software is mainly used to help you with your calculations. So it would help you do your calculations a bit easier, and then it will design your system for you. So it will tell you that, okay, with all this data you put in, it will design it for you, and even probably give you the cost, the estimated cost. So this franc CFA usually comes with dollars, but you can convert it to franc CFA at the end. So Homer Pro is really easier, especially when you have many systems to do at the same time. It's difficult to start doing all those raw calculations, especially when the people just want to send proposals, so many proposals. It can help you do that quickly.
Investors. Yeah.
Investors.
Yeah. That's a tool. That's a tool you...
Inverters.
Yeah.
So inverters are like it's like a whole electronic component.
Yeah.
So it's made of many electronic components, and then it's a whole system that converts direct current to alternating current. So like the kind of current that the panels and the batteries produce is not the kind of current we use in our homes. So a typical home uses alternating current, and it's what Eneo Energy of Cameroon produces for us. So if you want to give them energy from the panels or the batteries, you need to convert that kind of current into the one that we can use. So the inverter does it for you.
Helioscope.
Helioscope is a great software. So this one is actually mostly online. So you use it to actually design the systems from where you are. So that's one of the reasons that we take the GPS, the exact GPS location of the person, because the satellite will be able to show us the person's roof from our laptops on the system, and then you can design the way the panels should be placed on the roof. And you'll also be able to tell you that at this particular angle, you'll be able to get a lot more energy from the panels than at another angle. And also be able to tell you the obstacles that you meet on the roof, things that you couldn't have seen from the ground, and things. So Helioscope really helps you do that very well. And that you can also do your design and then leave it halfway, and another maybe engineer can also take it and continue and all that. So it does the other remaining calculation, but that's really the main great thing about it.
Okay, and to finish with batteries.
Oh, batteries is like storage systems.
Very common.
Yeah, so batteries are like just storage systems, what they use to store energy. So, but at the moment, most of the batteries that people used in the days ancient days were like gel batteries to store energy, like huge banks of energy. Because the small ones that we use in a remote controls are like good batteries, like lithium batteries. They're great, but they're small because they're expensive, so that you actually use them in small applications. But when you go like storing energy for a home and things like that, they go to gel batteries. Like for a car, you go to gel batteries. Gel batteries is one type of batteries that we used to use, which now SolarCity is trying to go away from. We're trying to get into lithium batteries with bigger storage, even bigger in capacity than gel batteries. Because gel batteries, you can only use 50 to 60% of the energy that's inside. So for the same amount of energy, you might need to use like 2 or 3. But with lithium batteries, no. For that same capacity, you can just use 1. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can use 90% of the energy that's inside. It saves a lot of energy, a lot of space, a lot of money on cabling, and all of that. So, and the efficiency is a whole lot more. So gel batteries are like 90 to 92% efficient. Lithium batteries are like 96 to 98% efficient. And so that we really use that because with most of our clients, they have ACs in their homes. And so ACs, the startup current and startup power is actually huge. They use a lot of energy to start. And so gel batteries are not really apt to take that shock at the beginning. So lithium batteries does that. They really do that a whole lot better. So we're trying to get into that set of batteries. So yeah.
Okay, innovation. Okay, thank you, Cinthia-acha, for accepting our invitation. You came all the way from Limbe just to participate to this program, and it was a very big pleasure to have you here.
I am very honored myself, really. The welcome here was very warm, and it was great, and your hosting was amazing. So I couldn't have passed it even if I wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you.